The blood from the Red Wedding has turned blue, and Red Bull Arena is a lock for the final two regular season home games for the New York City Football Club. We've got that and a whole lot more on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer.
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Hello, hello, hello. There's Roberto Abramowitz. I'm Glenn Crooks, and we've got another game tomorrow night. We got a lot to talk about this last game and this upcoming game. But Roberto, I wanted to talk about radio here for a moment, and I think you'll enjoy this. Now,
All right, let's go.
I know you're not a huge baseball fan, but I know you know everybody involved with it in terms of the broadcasting. And I'm a Yankee fan. You probably know that. My family, almost my whole family, are Met fans. So I'm with my wife, and we don't have SNY available. ESPN2 is blacked out for the Met game. This big doubleheader against the Braves yesterday. So what did we do?
Blacked out for you. It was weird because I was literally watching it in New York City. But I know it's just weird. I just needed to interject that. Continue.
The point is the radio and why we love the radio, Roberto. We come from a different era, we know, but it holds true the emotions and the tensions that radio can provide a sporting event. Howie Rose is the best, right? Like I said, I'm a Yankee fan. But Howie Rose, I've been listening to him for years. I remember he had a talk show on WHN a billion years ago. Yeah. And he's the Mets radio guy. And so we listened to the last couple of innings on the radio of that opening game of the doubleheader, which clinched a playoff spot. And for those who are Met fans, you know, it was an incredible game. They're down 3, they're up 6-3, then they're down 7-6, and then Lindor hits his home run, and it's 8-7, and then they get the final out with their guy Diaz. But the real point is the radio. It was more, and I asked my wife, Mary, I said, isn't it more like impactful emotionally listening to this rather than watching it? And she said, absolutely. That's what I love about the radio. I got to say, man. I
love it too. I grew up on radio. I grew up listening to Marv do Knick games and do Ranger games. Yeah. I heard Howie Rose do Ranger games as well. He's probably has the most famous Rangers call ever, which was the Rangers Devils game 7 when Stephane Matteau came around the back of the net and scored.
Yeah.
And he had the Matteau. Yeah. So, these are things that you absolutely, remember. When you look at NFL films, they're not giving you the television broadcast audio of, whatever play. It's always the local radio because it lends more excitement. I'm not criticizing, NFL play-by-play guys on TV. I love them all. But I'm just saying there's a different level of it. There's something just very different and sometimes very homey about some of those calls.
Well, I think what's cool about the things, and I hope those that watch this podcast, and maybe they don't and aren't aware of it, but how we post our audio calls over the video on social media the days after the game. And we're going to play a couple of them here in a moment from the Hudson River Derby. But I think that's what makes them cool, because they're more descriptive in many ways than the TV would be, because that's just the way it is. You have to describe a little bit more about what's going on so you can form these pictures. Well,
I just want to make sure that people understand that's not a criticism of television. That's just our job. In TV, you seeing the pictures. You don't need to say some of the things that we have to describe on radio. Well, we have to paint a picture for the listener. So when they go home and watch the goal, and then they say, oh, yeah, that's exactly how I remember it.
Well, you might not be, but I am being critical of the TV guys.
No, why?
I'm kidding. Roberto, I'm kidding. I am kidding. but I don't want you to lose my whole gist here is radio. And I challenge anyone in the audience, and I think tomorrow night's a good time. And here's why, Roberto.
Okay.
Tomorrow night's a good time to just listen to us on the radio and watch the Philadelphia Orlando game, because that's the game to really watch tomorrow from a New York City perspective, other than the New York City game. And that is, if Philadelphia beats Orlando down in Florida and New York City manages to get a home win against Cincinnati, New York City elevates into the 4th position in the Eastern Conference, and therefore, with then 2 more games left, are in control of their own destiny to have the home field advantage in that best 2 of 3. So this is
which could lend itself to a nightmarish scenario. You realize
what's that? The Red Bulls?
No, New York City. No, the fact that doesn't matter who they play. If New York City has 2 home games, and let's say that Mets and Yankees are very successful in the playoffs,
it's not a nightmare.
As they move along.
There's a 25,000 seat stadium that they can fill. It's not a nightmare, Roberto. It's not a nightmare. I will repeat. I don't know how many words that is. It's not a nightmare. 4 words. So everybody repeat. It's not a nightmare if the New York City Football Club plays in a proper soccer arena, the Red Bull Arena, just because it's in New Jersey and just because your rival's playing it. It's still a great facility to play in.
I would venture to guess. that if New York City winds up being 4th or 5th and they got to play the Red Bulls, and they've got to play the Red Bulls at a home game in Yankee Stadium and Citi Field are not available, I'm not too sure that game's being played. I don't know. I have zero knowledge. Right. I'm not saying that I have like inside knowledge and I'm like trying to spread. I don't. I have zero knowledge of this. Okay. But my guess is that they probably won't want to play that game at Red Bull Arena.
I would see it the other way. They just kicked their ass on a Saturday night at their home, and now it's going to be more filled with New York City supporters. You would hope for a playoff game that people would finally make the trek, over to New Jersey.
These people are obstinate. They don't want. Maybe some will do it, but a lot of these guys, and they're wrong, by the way. I am with you. They're 100% wrong by doing it. Some of these people will just die on principle on this. They're going to hang their hat on this, and they're not going to go. Doesn't matter if it's MLS Cup.
So what have we learned so far? That the radio announcers are better than TV. That it's not a night. It's not a nightmare to play in Red Bull.
You're making friends, aren't you?
The New York City Football Club. Yeah, I think this could be.
Please understand, this is from the Jersey guy. Okay, please understand, all you people in Apple TV and all that. I have a lot of respect for you.
Hey, did you see that I put a promo out today too? I was on the Jersey. I was on the beach at the Jersey Shore. So
they didn't attack you.
Over the seagull, it was great.
The seagulls over there hanging out, going.
It's good.
That might be dinner.
This might be why I'm so wired and free on this podcast.
I reposted it for you on Instagram, which is where I saw it.
Well, thank you very much. Well, look, let's get to this. Plenty of tribulation for the New York Red Bulls. Let's put it that way. It's the worst loss ever at Red Bull Arena. Their worst loss ever at home. Now, Red Bull Arena was built in 2010. So there you go. Largest margin of defeat since they lost to Chicago 5-1 in 2008 at Giant Stadium. Remember, they used to lay the grass down on Giant Stadium to play. They were the Red Bulls then, though. They were the Metro Stars, I think, till 2006 before they became the Red Bulls. And but with all that, I'm curious what their locker room was like. I mean, did they celebrate at all when they found out they got into the playoffs despite the loss?
So. I mean, you talk about backing into the playoffs. That really, and it's not just one game. I mean, we were all talking about New York City, and we know what was going on over there. That they had gone, 9 games in a row without a win within MLS, and so you had all those things. But the Red Bulls were just as bad. The Red Bulls, you can make an argument they were actually doing worse than New York City, and they just looked like a shadow of themselves, and trying to change the way that they play a little bit turned out to be their Achilles heel in this game.
Yeah, we're going to see that. Roberto Abramowitz with this great call on the opening goal. So New York City wins 5-1. They clinch a playoff berth, and it didn't happen right after the game. They had to wait for that Toronto-Chicago. That ended in a draw. So that's what made it possible for New York City to clinch. Only one team has been eliminated in the East, and that's the poor Chicago Fire, who are out of the playoffs again. They haven't been in the playoffs since 2017. And they miss out again. And then, of course, the rumor mill has Greg Berhalter going there to either be the head coach or the sporting director or both. So that'll probably happen pretty quickly if that does happen. But here we go. Carlos Coronel with the first gift of the game, and it's Maxi Morales who accepts. Here's Roberto.
Pero sí, el último gol de Tati. New York City ganó ese partido por 1-0. Mala entrega de Coronel. La tiene aquí New York City. ¡Gol! Maxi Morales. ¡Feliz Navidad en septiembre! Craso error de Coronel. Le dio el balón en el área. En la cabeza, entonces siguen con 10. Viene el centro a la olla. Despeja Tolkien de cabeza. Le llega a Parks. Afuera, a donde está Gray. ¡Remate! ¡Gol! ¡Andrés Perea! ¡De cabeza! ¡Qué reacción de New York City! 3-1.
All right. I love Feliz Navidad. I know what you said there.
I know you did. I mean, you know what I liked about the call, about my call, is just, it just looks like just a normal little play. I'm talking about the last time New York City won there. Tati Castellanos had the goal, turned out to be his last goal. And, and I'm just like talking over a little bit about them playing out of the back because you don't expect anything to happen. And then all of a sudden you could just see my shock. I think you can hear the shock in my voice as Coronel just like gifts Maxi Morales the ball there. And Maxi did what he was supposed to do. He let Edelman slide by. Then he faked a little bit to the right and put it between his legs and put it far post. And they were up 1-0.
He had to finish the play. I want everybody to watch that closely again. I don't, Shane, if you can play it and pause it just before Coronel plays the ball to Maxi. I don't know if you can do that. Can you? If you can't,
pero
then
sí, el
don't.
último gol de Tati. New York City ganó ese partido.
Oh, but we need to be able to see it. Yes. So what happens is Maxi, and this is what Nick Cushing told me in the pregame show, and one of the reasons he likes having Maxi on the field because he thinks they're much better in the press when Maxi's there because he's so smart. He doesn't put in the miles of a Sandy Rodriguez or Alonso Martinez. Those guys are running so hard, Keaton Parks. But he waited for Coronel to lift his left leg, and then he moved to his left to pick it off. Like he was just kind of almost, I don't want to say he was baiting him because it was still not a wise choice by Coronel because it was so tight. But Maxi helped make it happen because he just waited. He waited, and then right before Coronel struck it, Maxi is doing what he is right now. He's moving to his left and ends up picking it off. So it's pretty cool.
There's another thing. There's another element in all of this, too. And Sandro Schwartz has changed the way the Red Bulls are playing. I mean, in years past, Coronel would have gotten that ball and he would have blasted it 50 yards down the field. And New York City doesn't have, but they want to do a little bit more of building out of the back, and that leaves you the opportunity to become part of that Twitter lore. They have this one playing it out of the back. That's a great account, and you see all these horrific mistakes, and that was one of them. Yeah, and the funny thing was that just before I was talking about Tati, and just before I was talking about, and then describing the goal, I was talking about how Coronel had just become, became because of his grandmother. Ariel had mentioned it. Because of his grandmother, became a citizen of Paraguay, and he was, 9 games on the national team. Building the guy up, because he's, doing really well. He's, he's a starting goalkeeper for a CONMEBOL team that, is fighting to become, to get into the World Cup and everything, and all of this, and then bang, he gives one away like that.
Well, good job by Maxi. And then the third goal, your call on that, fantastic. Gray to Perea, which was so huge because the Red Bulls had pulled it back to within 1. All right, so we're not going
in. Before you go away from there, we're gonna get to your calls, which I really want to hear. Okay, before we get away there, there's something that we got to talk about. Okay, and that's just Tavon Gray and his incredible improvement within the past year.
Well,
offensively.
If I could interrupt, only because I'm only going to interrupt because we're going to play a Nick Cushing clip about Tavon, and then I think that's when this would be more appropriate.
And you've got one of it, and you've got his goal. But I just love the assist because of what he did on that assist. The way he just looked up and then he just almost toe poked it to where Perea was standing. And I mean, it was where he came in. I just think it's just a fabulous assist, and there's no way he does that last year. There's no way he does that at any other point in his career. And kudos to him for working on his offense. Seriously.
All right. That's good. And so, Shane, let's do my call of Gray. It'll be the assist on the Perea goal and then his first career goal. So this is it was an interesting night for everybody. It was crazy. Here we go.
O'Toole for New York City. Good cross, mid-6. Diving header. That was by John Tolkien to get it out of the area. Now it's Gray to the back post. It's 3-1 New York City as Andres Perea crashes the back post. And Tavon Gray with his 7th assist of the season. Wow, New York City answers. They felt hard done by because of what we would perceive through numerous replays as the wrong call from Torrey Penso back at the other end. But it's Andres Perea getting the start tonight in place of Santi Rodriguez. And it's New York City 3 and the New York Red Bulls 1. Perea, I thought he was going to wind up and take a 30-yarder. Did not. Left of center. Instead, it's into Ojeda. Now O'Toole. Maxi Morales, boy, he collected that nicely. It was a tough one. Shot by Gray. It's a goal with the left foot. First time for Maxi Morales. Outside of the area. On the deck. Beat Coronel with the back bar. And New York City, they go up 4 goals on the New York Red Bulls in the Hudson River Derby. Nick Cushing remains calm in the technical area. Arms folded. Sandro Schwartz also arms folded, but different things going on in their minds, that's for certain.
There's a party going on in the head of Nick Cushing, that's for certain. How about the touch from Maxi Morales? He cushions the ball, and then we talk about pass appreciation, the weight of the pass. He rolls it delicately back to Tavon Gray because he knows it's on his left foot. He doesn't want to test him too badly. And Tavon Gray just whips that left foot round him. It's exquisite. He curls it round Coronel with the inside of the left foot, and boy is he happy. Well, he's not a shy boy, is Tavon Gray, and he's letting everyone know.
New York City's first homegrown, James Sands, scored his first career goal against Inter Miami last Saturday. Tonight, another homegrown, Tavon Gray, his first career goal, and boy was it sweet.
So there's a lot to identify there. I remember you right at the end there when Micha Ilinic came in and really celebrated with Tavon. And there's Micha, who we know is, that's a strict competition for fullback. And Micha Ilinic won it for a while. And now Tavon Gray, it's all his unless something happens.
Oh, without a doubt. And I was just thrilled to see. I mean, this should happen all the time, but it doesn't happen. You got 2 guys that are competing for minutes on the field. But the absolute unbridled joy that Micha Ilinic demonstrated there, going out there with Tavon, hugging him and then pushing him, it was just great to see. You want to see that. You just absolutely want to see that. And I think that it shows, a great deal about how this team is in the locker room, because that's not something that maybe you see all the time. And you just, with all the ups and downs that New York City has had this season, and if you want to bring in last season, go ahead, then, to see that and the team be, as together as it is, kudos to that locker room, and kudos to Gray, and kudos to Micha Ilinic for celebrating like that. I mean, that was just great. I noticed that, and it made me smile. It made me happy to see it.
Well, and setting up the environment and the culture and doing their best during the course of this is the coaching team led by Nick Cushing. the head coach has difficult decisions to make. He's got difficult conversations. But one he was happy to have was about Tavon Gray from our pregame show, which is coming up tomorrow night starting at 7:15. Here's a clip with Nick on Tavon.
Really stick out to me with the assists, serving accuracy. Let's just face, before this year, we did not see that. And then finishing with his left peg. And his left foot wasn't so good when he became a regular player here either. So, credit to Tavon, those that have worked with him, but there he is. First goal is with his left.
Well, the crossing he's working at and he's worked at. He's always been a top defender, but the offensive side of the game this year, I wanted to be aggressive with our fullbacks. We've probably seen, in my opinion, the best fullback in MLS in Anton Tinnerholm for offensive moments since I've been here anyway, especially 2020. He was real high level at producing goals and assists. We wanted to push Tavon in that moment. Let's get the offensive moments up. His crossing has really improved. I knew the goal was going to come at some point because he wanted it and because he gets in and around the box. He's had some shots, but to come inside and shoot off the left foot from 20 yards is, I think it's your day. When that happens, it's your day.
Yeah, curled it around the keeper in a perfect manner. And it goes from, the feeling, I'm not saying this was the way it was on the inside, but that you had Micha Ilinic attacking fullback on the right and Tavon Gray, defensive fullback on the right. In fact, Ilinic told me in the offseason once we were at some event, he goes, yeah, if either Tavon or me could combine both, we'd be pretty good. And it looks like Tavon, has really has taken that attacking role more seriously. And I would wonder, and I asked this, and I'm really curious about Gray. Is his next step just being more careful in possession? The only thing where we see sometimes there's a breakdown is he'll give it away in a really precarious spot.
Yeah, I think there's an element of fatigue in that. When he plays a lot of games, he tends to make small mistakes, but he's still a young player. I think people perceive Tavon as a seasoned pro because he's been in the team for so long, right? But he still is, under 23. He still is in that. He's played a lot of games for us, but he's still developing his game. Definitely his accuracy in possession, his low build-up. Everybody has areas to improve, and Tavon's working incredibly hard at trying to become better.
Well, that's a pretty comprehensive look at Tavon Gray, and agreeing also that he's got to stop giving away possession in these midfield areas. But he's trying to do things because he's feeling confident. So that's
sort of hard to stop him, right? I get that, but I'm just really happy for him to see how he's brought his game to the next level. Yeah, you hate to see the giveaways, and that's been a mark on him this season. That's an area now that he's got to improve. But part of the reason that is happening is because he feels so much more confident going forward and being more offensive. So with that is going to come, some hiccups, and but it's something absolutely that he's got to clean up. But in general, it's really become just a great season for him because he's still a lockdown defender. And now, 7 assists. He's tied for second on the team with 7 assists. And he didn't start the year as a starting right back because remember, he was injured and maybe he got beat by Ilinic at the beginning. But, once he got his chance, he's taken over. It's massive.
Yeah, the guy's tied with Hannes Wolf. He's not had a goal contribution. Well, he's had 1 in his last 10, 1 in his last 13, all competitions. And so Gray has caught up to him in the assist area anyway. And then gets his first career goal. So how fun, it was a fun game to call. I got one more thing to share from a play-by-play standpoint. And we haven't even talked about Alonso Martinez. The guy had a first half brace. So here was the brace.
Star of the game.
Huh?
Star of the game.
Scored the second goal of the game, and then he had this brace here right at the end of the first half.
Teams drives one diagonally across the field to Andres Perea. Perea receives it on the left to Parks. Parks accelerates on the dribble and now gets it through to Kevin O'Toole. Alonso Martinez in front of the goal, settles, shoots, and scores! In first half stoppage time, he's got a brace, and New York City's got 4! Red Bull Arena, which will be New York City's home on Wednesday night when they host FC Cincinnati. But here on a Saturday night, they're on the road against the New York Red Bulls. And this is the most delightful, delicious enthralling first half of play for New York City FC in quite some time. I'll have to think about it over the 10 years, Maddie, but we haven't seen much like this before.
So, Roberto, I challenge you. Have you ever seen a first half like that for New York City in our 10 years together?
And I can't recall, especially considering the rival, the moment when they came in. No, that was that was a ridiculous. And the funny thing is that the Red Bulls had almost scored just moments before that, and you were like, "Well, I really wish halftime would end." If you're looking at things from a New York City perspective, and then they come down the other way, and then instead of it being 3-2, all of a sudden it's 4-1, and they've blown the doors off this game.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. As you mentioned at the beginning of the game, all these negatives for the Red Bulls that they set, it still doesn't fully erase, the Red Wedding, but it does at least give New York City some form of revenge for that. And that was back in 2016. And they put a world of hurt on the Red Bulls in their own arena. It's a world of hurt.
I have called it the Red Debacle. I don't know if that will hold, but that would be.
I saw that, and I came up with New York City FC leaves the Red Bulls blue.
That's nice too.
Thank you very much.
That could be the headline, Shane. Our producer is always looking for the headline. And Roberto, by the way.
There you go.
99% of the time, those headlines you see on social media are Roberto. I give him full credit. In fact, I don't even chime in anymore. I just I just figure that's the way.
There's like so much to play with that headline.
Now, I thought it was interesting, and you were sitting with me when I was talking to Nick. That was yesterday after training, and he's the one who a week ago, we've seen a lot of people talk about Goody's goal in Atlanta in 2021 and how that served as the impetus to win MLS Cup. It was just a moment. So we were talking about the Goody versus Sands scoring the late goal, James Sands, his first career goal against Miami to salvage the 1-1 draw at Yankee Stadium in front of all those people and how that might impact. So here's the discussion on that and what Nick thought. In our last pregame briefing, it was a tie against Miami, but you brought up the Goody goal, the one in October, which propelled you never lost again as an assistant to Ronnie Dyla in New York City winning the MLS Cup. You compared the Sands late equalizer as far as the momentum that may have been gained. Do you think and do you attribute that goal and that result at that moment to how it went against the Red Bulls?
Well, I think probably one of the reasons why we didn't win in 2019, and I've only gone back and watched, I wasn't part of the staff, but I have Rob Vartugian that was, David Lee. I think one of the reasons why we didn't win in 2019 is because we didn't have the experience. We hadn't experienced why and how you win. The difference now is we do because we won in 2021, and also we got to the final in 2022. And I think, I don't think this part of the season is about tactics. I don't think it's about game plans, although they play a part in it. I think it's about the feel and the energy that you have within the team. And 2021, the Atlanta goal, we were on the floor before we got that point in Atlanta. And then we won to DC 6-0, and the rest is history, right? 2022, we were on the floor. We lost that Cincinnati game at Citi Field. It was a horrible loss. And then we win Campeones Cup. Then we beat Red Bull. And I don't think that this season is, I don't know what the outcome of this season is going to be, but I do think you have to reflect on moments and use them to gather momentum. The last minute goal in Miami, the derby is a great opportunity, and we've won it 5-1. 2 home games now, you've got to take the rough with the smooth. And when you lose to Philly 5-1, it's really painful, but you've got to see past that and see how you can turn. There's 3 ways that you finish the season, right? You don't get in the postseason, and that was us last year. You do get in the postseason, but you're a bit flat and you're tired and you lack momentum, or you get in the postseason and you have real momentum. And that definitely was us in 21.
Talking about the momentum going into the playoffs. So, we'll get a good look at it tomorrow when New York City hosts FC Cincinnati. And as I said at the top, Roberto, so because of the Mets beating the Braves yesterday, getting into the playoffs, so Red Bull Arena, the host for tomorrow, and then Sunday against Nashville. Nashville, they host DC United, Roberto, and if they lose, they could be eliminated before they even play that game against New York City FC. So that's the position they're in the East. And then the other team that the New York City will finish up with, Montreal, they're coming off a win over San Jose. Montreal in 10th place. And along with Atlanta, they're both safe for now. They can't be eliminated this week. There's only one team that could be eliminated in the East, and that's Nashville if it doesn't go well for them. And then a few other things have to happen. So it's one of those situations.
Right now, the only focus is Cincinnati, and they came off a 2-1 loss at home against LAFC, a game that they allowed an early goal. They came back and tied it. Were dominating, and then they allowed Dennis Bouanga to get loose on the right side. And, Roman Celentano is a very good goalkeeper, and he's made some magnificent saves throughout his career. And we've seen him against New York City, where he's stoned New York City several times. But he left his near post open, and he got beat badly there. That's really a bad goal on him, and he wound up costing him points in that game for sure. And they defensively right now, they're in a little bit of shambles because of the fact that Matt Miazga is out, and God knows when he's coming back. And then Chidozie Awiziem, he was starting, and now he came out injured in the 30th minute. So he's gone. So that means that they're down, and they play most of the time 3 in the back, and then wing backs and the whole deal. But all of a sudden, their center defender is now third. It's the third guy now coming up.
Well,
so,
the guy that
there's going to be opportunities for Martinez to be able to take some runs at him.
Well, watch that full match if you haven't yet against LAFC. Alvis Powell played well, so he's probably going to start at the back on the right side of a back three, and then you got Miles Robinson in the middle of a back three, so he can handle it fine, So, but you're right. I mean, it's been a crisis at central defense. There was a point where Miles Robinson was away on international duty. Miazga hurt his knee. I think he's out for the year. It's pretty doubtful he'll come back, and Nick Hagglund went down injured. So
he's out too. Hagglund he was out for the last game too.
Their 3 starting central defenders were all out at the same time. So to kind of piecemeal that, and look where they are. They're going to finish in the top 4. They're not probably going to win the Supporters Shield for a second straight year, but and I think it's reflective of Pat Noonan and Chris Albright, who is the guy who acquires the players. But they're trying to gain some sort of consistency going into the playoffs. I think that's their biggest thing. This is not official, but I don't think they've played the same starting 11 in back-to-back games once this year. How about that?
Yeah, it's been tough. There's a lot of attrition in this league. And this series is really weird. When you look at the series, right? In New York City, I believe won the first 6 meetings. Then they tied the next 2, and now Cincinnati's won the last 5.
Yeah,
and it coincides, by the way, with Noonan signing a contract.
No, it's definitely it, and also
coaching helps.
Also, a new general manager. Listen, that team of Dutch guys they didn't help very much. That's putting it mildly. Jaap Stam is the head coach. So the name of the GM is escaping me right now, but they're both Dutch guys. Get them out, bring these guys in, and that the Philadelphia Union background and how they go about things has really paid off. You're going to love this stat, Roberto. You ready for this one? This is just for you, because Roberto, over the years, has always talked about how possession is overrated. I don't think you've said it's meaningless, but you said it's
pretty much.
Yeah. So New York City has had more possession in 18 games this year, and they've gotten 22 points from those games. They had less possession in 13 of the games, and they have 22 points from those matches. So
I didn't know the exact stat, but I knew that they were better, that they had a better record when they didn't have the ball. I knew that.
And just to put a cap on it, Red Bull 52%, New York City FC 48%, New York City 5, New York Red Bulls won. It's what you do with the possession. And I'll tell you, with Alonso Martinez up top, and if there's space in behind, good night, because he came that close. And if you're just listening to this, my forefinger and thumb are very tight together from having a hat trick when he clanged that one off the bar. James Sands, what a wonderful ball out of the midfield. I'll tell you, Sands.
It's funny because before the game, while we were in the lunchroom at Red Bull Arena, we were having this discussion with one of the other members of the press who had brought up what the possession statistics and its importance and all of it. And I'm just like, no, it's not. And then we had this argument back and forth about the importance. And I kept on trying to tell him. And I said, there are teams that not exclusive, there are teams that purposely set up defensively to give you the ball and hope you lose it in bad areas of the field so they can counterattack you. The whole purpose is for you to have the ball. So if the team has 70%, well, that's because the team allowed you to have 70%. That's exactly what their tactics were. That's not something that the team that had the 70% can look to and say, oh, look, we had 70% of the ball, meant we playing well. No, you were falling into a trap. They set a trap for you and you fell into it. And they don't get this. And so this is what I try to remind people. Don't look at possession stats as something significant. That's something that's significant. Look at them in the context of how that was used to be able to get a result. And meaning exactly what I just said, that there are teams that are set up purposely to not have possession and win. And that's on purpose. Hence why I find that they're meaningless.
Very few teams hope that they only have 30% of the ball. I'm sorry, Roberto. If you have 70% of the ball, I would bet that you win 90% of the time. Now, you're going to lose a soccer match no matter what. But when you talk about 70 percentile in terms of possession, I've wavered a bit on this and certainly changed my tune a little bit because I'm watching worldwide how possession has become less important with the tactics of the game. So it's, and it depends on personnel.
You're coming to my side.
Yep. But
you're coming to my side. It's going to take you a while.
No, it'll
almost as long as it took me to get home from the Jets game on Sunday from Jersey. It took me 95 minutes to get home. And I live 2 blocks north of the New York side of the George Washington Bridge. Okay? 90 bloody minutes it took me to get home.
I care as a friend. I care otherwise not at all. But I will say it took me 30 minutes to get home.
Says the guy who celebrates every time New York City plays at Red Bull Arena so he doesn't have to go over said bridge.
Do you want to pay for my gas or what?
I don't have to. I got to pay for the toll when it's a home game. They're not reimbursing me for that.
If we add up the tolls that a certain person
but that's your decision for living in Jersey.
Yeah. Hey, one more thing before we kick it around, and there's just a couple of things on that. New York City's soccer-specific stadium, they roll these things out slowly, and now we're seeing City Square. So Shane, if you got some shit, I almost said it. If you got some City Square, give it to us. There it is.
What do we have? All right. Well, you have to.
Now it's gonna roll up.
There's no way to zoom in on one picture. So there's one place that has tamales, which there it is on the upper left. It has tamales. So basically, what's going to happen is that they're going to be different booths for ethnic food because being the largest ethnic community in New York and in the United States, where 134 languages are spoken. So you're going to have all sorts of things. The key part of this is that this area isn't just open on New York City game days. This is open every single day. So if you're going to be living in the new community that's being built, there's 2,000 apartments that's going to be built around the stadium. And then every place else that's near, you can drive in or take the 7 train. And you're going to be able to go to this and go have lunch any day of the week. And I would presume that if you're going to go watch the Mets across the street at at Citi Field, that you'd be able to go and enjoy a meal at sponsor named stadium. That area will be open.
Well, it looks very nice, and I would think
it's called City Plaza, and I called it Plaza Celeste.
I don't know if you know,
which I think is nicer than City Plaza. Plaza Celeste.
I don't know if you're privy to who the vendors are going to be, but
they don't know yet. Nobody knows. It's not
okay, but
they still have to get people in.
Well, I'm bringing it up because weren't local vendors going to be hopefully, or
yes,
within the community be catered to in some manner?
Yes, it's supposed to be local vendors. Yes, that's the whole point. That's why we don't know.
Okay,
so
well, that's good to hear. That's good.
So yeah, absolutely, because the amount of great food that you can get in Queens, and you can get especially over there on Roosevelt Avenue, is just amazing.
All right, and our brother Chris Campbell from the outfield will shortly. I thought it was coming out today. He'll also have some more about not just City Square, but some other parts of the stadium that he'll be sharing. Chris is he's always like one step ahead of the club, releasing these things. Although the club's renderings are obviously in color, and they really give you a great feel for what's ahead in 2000.
Can't wait.
7, yeah.
Can't wait. I'm dying for that field to get open.
All right. Well, let's talk about 2025 and 6 and one other thing right here on Kicking It Around on NYCFC Views. Well, the 2026 part of the discussion, Mauricio Pochettino. Now, this is going to be interesting. So tomorrow, I want you to tune in, Roberto. And if you can't, I think I can for sure. And then I'll share things on social media as he talks about. But this is going to be his first time talking about. He's going to have to talk about individual players because he's naming his training camp roster for these friendlies that are coming up. Which what's the first one? October the 12th.
Panama in Austin, and then at Estadio Akron in Guadalajara against the Mexican national team.
Right. So October the 12th is the Panama match. So that's what they're getting ready for first. And so before the 11:30 media presser, which media will be on through stream, they'll make the announcement of this training camp roster. So I think we're all pretty interested to see who he selects, and then why, because those are the questions he's
and who he didn't select and why.
Yeah, and that too. So that's interesting because he's had his press conference where everybody's been all happy and he said all the right things, and we love Pochettino, but now he's got to really kind of dive into it a little bit more. And then now we know the 2026 World Cup final, Roberto, is going to be held in the great state of New Jersey, even though they'll talk about New York as much as they can at MetLife Stadium rather, where you do the New York Jet games in New Jersey. Anyway, the Club World Cup 2025 is coming to the States, so they announced all the venues. MetLife Stadium is going to host that final, which I think makes sense. They're both events.
It's a dry run. It's a dry run of what's going to happen in 2026. I want to make sure that whatever problems that they didn't foresee, that they come up, so they'll be ready to iron them out.
Yeah, so that's going to happen. Just a couple of other things. And, we'd like to go outside of soccer at times, like I did at the top with Howie Rose in baseball and the Mets. Dikembe Mutombo passed away.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I remember. I don't follow college basketball nearly as close. I used to do Seton Hall basketball. So years ago, I was really in tune, especially Georgetown, because they're in the Big East with Seton Hall. Dikembe Mutombo, do you remember this? Mutombo and Alonzo Mourning were on the same college team. I mean, can you imagine? And they were, and the kids, the college kids, the supporters, the fans at Georgetown, right behind one basket, they called it Rejection Row. They called them Rejection Row, but you're seeing all the tributes from all the players from around the league, around the world, and what an ambassador for African players he was, and just didn't speak a lick of English when he arrived on campus at Georgetown, went into one of those ESL programs, and, just someone to really appreciate.
He gave back so much. He was such a humanitarian, and he wound up giving back so much. And you love to see that, from guys like him. And he was a great guy, had a fantastic sense of humor too. You remember the Geico commercial when he kept running around the store blocking everybody from making purchases?
That's got to that's up there among the greatest commercials ever.
That's great. And then the finger, I love the finger. He was a New York Knicks for a while.
And the Nets.
Such a great player.
He played for the New Jersey Nets one season. Let's not forget that. Go ahead.
So, all right. Look.
Yeah. Yep.
So, but yeah, brain cancer, such a young age, so sad. And, our condolences to his family and friends.
Yeah, no question about it. And now one final thing here. Now, I'm sure, there's two ththings. First of all,
well, if we mentioned Dikembe, I don't know if you're going here because we didn't talk this out, but you got to mention Pete Rose.
Yeah, well, you're right. Pete Rose died at the age of 83. And there's a clip on social media of him talking some baseball, talking about batting. It's like a 6-minute clip. Just Google Pete Rose, and you'll get to an ESPN clip. It's Frank Thomas is standing there. Oh, and Alex Rodriguez. Maybe it's not ESPN. Maybe it's Fox or something. But he goes over the specifics. And Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod was good, asking him all the right questions. It is enthralling if you're a baseball fan, if you're a Pete Rose fan, just the art of hitting. And he went over some real specifics and I hadn't seen it before, and that people were posting it, after his passing. So all-time hits leader, and then he's probably, unfortunately, is more known for being kicked out of baseball and never getting into the Hall of Fame because of his gambling woes.
And the funny thing is, and it's sad now, right? I mean, it was always sad that, he was denied these things. And now how sports have embraced gambling, right? Obviously, they don't want the players embracing it, and they don't want the players betting. And I don't believe there was any proof at all that he bet against his own team and sabotaged his own team to be able to win a bet, which is, what the theory was for a while. Yes, he bet on baseball, but he didn't necessarily bet against his own team, which would have been the mortal sin without a doubt.
Sure.
And I'm sad that he never got a chance to for him to be taken into full account for all the great things he did, in baseball. That part is very, very sad.
Well, there's a documentary which, and it's, I believe it's in 5 or 6 parts. I watched it not too long ago, and it goes through everything, the gambling but the people who support him and also the, just what a great hitter he was.
As Garrett Morris,
switch hitter.
Yes, as Garrett Morris as Chico Escuela would say, Pete Rose and how.
Hey, tonight, right when we're done with this, Roberto, I'm heading out with my wife to Monmouth University. You'd find this very cool. The first Tuesday of every month, if anybody in the audience is a Beatles fan, like a real Beatles fan and has read books, they've read a book by Ken Womack. And my wife has befriended him. He's a professor at Monmouth University, but he hosts this Tuesday album night. And tonight it's Tea for the Tillerman. I don't know if you're a Cat Stevens fan.
I was going to say, that's Cat Stevens.
This album is, I wore it out. We're going and and he analyzes each song and people can ask questions. It's really, I like those kinds of things are cool,
without a doubt. It sounds like a very good event. And I hope that everybody who goes enjoys. I'm going to sit through the debate.
Well, no, we're getting back in time for that. Believe me, if we have to leave early. And here's the thing about the debate tonight, right? And this is really important. It's Tim Walz and J.D. Vance, vice presidential debate. If you're going to watch it on CBS. And the reason I say why is they're going to have a Q code, and it's not going to be on any other. Everybody's going to carry it, but only one, CBS, will have this Q code, and you can fact check the candidates.
Awesome.
They have 20 people working within CBS who are going to be in this back room, and they're just going to fact check everything, both candidates, not just JD Vance. That's what people are going to think. No, they're going to fact check both candidates during this whole thing. Now, they were going to use it for the Harris-Trump debate, but the number of false claims on one side of that debate were actually too much for the system to handle. I'm not going to say which side, but so go to CBS and do the Q. I can't wait to do
That's
the
very
Q.
cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. All right, Roberto. So
I want to wear out the battery on my phone on one side. I know that for a fact.
We're both on tomorrow night at 7:15 for our pregame show. And I've got Nick Cushing. Do you have any special guests this week?
No, actually, we went interview light this week.
You'll get more of an opportunity to review with Ariel this unbelievable game that was played just a couple of days ago. And Maddie Lawrence and I will do NYCFC pregame live. It's a stream. We were off for a long time with that. We're bringing it back, and we did the last game. We'll be on again at 6:45. And if you're staying home and you're going to watch the game on Apple, I would be very disappointed if you didn't listen to Maddie and I on the drop-down app on Apple TV and MLS Season Pass. You can hear your hometown commentary. So, Roberto, it's been a pleasure. It's really been fun. It's always nice to win, even though it's not your team. It is our team, I guess. But, if you're just broadcasting the games.
We take a step back. It's that fourth wall sort of thing that we don't break. We take a step back and we describe it as them. Because that's what they are.
Well, it's always when you're with a team, reporting on it, whatever role you're playing, it's better to win.
Trust me, you and I, mostly you, I think, have heard about it
have heard about what?
When things some people might not be in agreement with some of the things that we say, but that has never stopped us.
No, this jersey thing, it only goes so far. I know. All right, for Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks. Hope to be talking to you tomorrow night, and thanks for joining us.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.